The greatest archaeological discoveries in human history aren't hidden in the dirt. They are under hundreds of feet of water. The map of the world as we know it is only the latest version of a constantly changing story. As the last ice age ended, the oceans rose by over 400 feet, swallowing millions of square miles of thriving human settlements. Today, we are going on an expedition into the deep. We'll trek across the lost plains of Doggerland, descend into the mysterious Gulf of Khambhat, and swim through the streets of Pavlopetri, the oldest submerged city in the world. From the drowned continent of Sundaland to the haunting Neolithic ruins of Atlit Yam, these aren't just myths. They are real places preserved in the cold silence of the seafloor. This is the history of the world we lost beneath the waves. The fire did not crackle. It was a low, blue-tinged thing, fed not with honest wood from the upland forests, but with black, fibrous bricks of peat cut from the fens and dried for a season. It burned with a patient, sullen glow, and its smoke carried the scent of deep, forgotten earth and salt. Around it, we sat on stones hauled from the shingle, our faces painted in flickering relief by its light. Beyond our circle, the world was a void of murmuring blackness, the North Sea breathing in the dark. The autumn ebb was upon us, the tide pulling back farther than at any other time, laying bare secrets usually kept by the waves. It was the night for the telling. Old Myra, her face a map of wrinkles deeper than any river cut in the peat, stirred the embers with a stick of gray driftwood, smooth as bone. She did not look at us, but at the fire, as if reading its shapes. Not just the water, beneath it, a sigh. The children, wide-eyed, clutched charms of carved driftwood, tiny, clumsy figures of deer and aurochs, whittled by their fathers at the last low tide from water-bleached roots that had not seen the sun for 8,000 years. Drowned forest wood, we called it. It held a stillness, a density that fresh wood lacked. To carve it was to listen, they said, and if you listened well, Your knife might follow a grain that remembered a branch, a leaf, a season of sun. It was not always this hungry gray water, Mayura began, the formal cadence of the telling settling into her bones. Once, where the seal hunts and the herring run, there were forests of oak and hazel so thick a squirrel could journey from here to the rising sun without ever touching the ground. Rivers ran there wider and slower than our little burns, carrying water from mountains of ice that lay like sleeping giants to the north. And in those rivers, fish the size of a man's leg swam in the cool shadows. But with Myra, it was never just a tale. It was a memory, etched in the very marrow of our people. My great-grandmother's voice, 100 times removed, told of a place the old ones called Doggerlands, she said, giving the word its full guttural weight. A vastness, a bridge of earth and forest and sweet water that connected our island to the great continent, where the antlered ones and the great shaggy cattle with horns like the new moon roamed in herds that darkened the plains. I saw young Finn, my brother's boy, glance at the crude aurochs figure in his hand. His fingers tightened around it. He was of an age to begin the silent hunt this coming winter solstice, to stand vigil on the cliffs when the fog was thick enough to swallow sound, hoping to glimpse the spectral forms of those very megafauna, the ghostly ripple of a mammoth's flank, the silent charge of an aurochs herd, that were said to walk the drowned hills on the longest night. It was a rite of passage, a weaving of our present longing with the past's lost substance. Myra's eyes grew distant. The people of that land were not so different from us. They fished the rivers, hunted the forests, gathered nuts in the autumn. They listened to the world. But the world was changing. The giants to the north, the mountains of ice, were stirring in a slow, terrible dream. They were melting. Here, the legend bled seamlessly into the history our scholars had pieced together from the peat ink maps on sealskin, maps I had helped prepare. We'd grind the darkest peat to powder, mix it with fish oil, and use goose quills to trace, on cured sealskin, the remembered contours of that lost world. Here, the great river they called the Schotten. There, the uplands of Doggerbank, the sprawling wetlands of the southern basin. The maps were not for navigation, but for remembrance. They were records of a topography of loss. The meltwater began to sing a new song, Myra continued, her voice dropping. A song of rising. First, it was a whisper in the springs. Then, a murmur in the riverbanks. the reed beds where people wove their baskets and shelters began to taste of the sea. My mother, sitting beside me, unconsciously ran her fingers over a strip of weaving in her lap. It was a practice kept alive only by a few now, North Sea ghost reed weaving. We would gather the tough, sinewy seaweed that grew in long, dark strands, and the rare, hollow reeds that washed ashore after great storms. Working them together, we'd recreate the patterns of the drowned marshes. Chevrons and diamonds said to mimic the flight of birds over forgotten wetlands. The textures were all wrong. Slippery weed, brittle reed. But the patterns held the memory of a different, sweeter basket. The people adapted, Myra said, a note of fierce pride entering her tone. They built their huts on stilts where the water grew deep. For generations, it was a slow retreat, a negotiation with the sea. They watched the great forests sicken as the salt crept into their roots. Oaks that had stood for 1,000 years groaned and died where they stood, their skeletons remaining for a time as gray sentinels in the advancing shallows. She paused, picking up a fragment of the peat. "This," she said, holding the black clump to the firelight, "is their world compressed. A memory of roots and moss and fallen leaves." The sighing beyond the shingle grew louder. "But the giant's dream became a fever," Myra whispered, "and we had to strain to hear. The rising was no longer a creep. It was a surge. Storms, fiercer than any known before, drove the saltwater inland in great drowning walls. The great flat plains, the heart of Doggerland, went first. They became a vast, brackish lake, then a tidal flat, then seabed. The people were driven back, and back again, towards the hills that would become our islands and the continent's shores. She described what the scholars and our own peat maps confirmed, how the final geography of the North Sea was forged in a catastrophic series of events. Not just the steady rise, but the great Storega slide. Myra did not name it thus, but she told of it. And the sea, angry and displaced, rose up in a wall of water that traveled faster than a running deer. It swept across the last forests, the last hunting grounds, the last villages on the low hills. It took the land into its maw and did not give it back. In the hush that followed, the roar of the distant surf seemed to articulate her words. This was the climax of the telling, the moment of submergence. It was always met with silence. We were thinking of the last ones, those who stood on a dwindling promontory, watching the waters claim the very path their ancestors had walked to visit kin. The unimaginable severing. Myra's story, however, did not end with utter desolation. This was where the 30% of fact, the stubborn, tangible evidence, fed the 70% of legend and gave it hope. But the land did not die, she said more softly now. It sleeps, and in its sleep, it speaks. Our nets bring up its bones, the tusk of a mammoth, the antler of an elk that grazed on marsh grass. The sea, on its spring tides, coughs up the flint tools they dropped, sharp as the day they were napped.
And the great forests.
She pointed her driftwood stick out into the blackness, towards the sighing tide. When the ebb is deep, like tonight, and the storms have shifted the sands, you can see them, not ghosts, but their true bodies. The black, peat-stained stumps of oaks standing in ranks on the seabed, the drowned forest, our forest. Every few years, a combination of tide and storm would scour the sands off the clay bank 20 fathoms down, and the trawler men would see, on their sounding lines, the jagged outlines of tree roots. They'd speak of it in hushed tones in the harbor inn. It was an omen, they said, a reminder. And so we remember, Myra concluded, the reflective tone settling over us like the peat smoke. We carve the drowned wood so our hands know the grain of that world. We weave the ghost reed patterns so our eyes remember its shapes. We hunt the silent megafauna in the solstice fog so our spirits yearn for its abundance. We draw the peat-inked maps on sealskin so the contours of the loss are never forgotten. And we tell on the autumn ebb, when the sea draws its breath back and shows a little more of its stolen bed. We tell so that the sigh beneath the waves is answered by a voice above them. One by one, the adults reached into pouches and brought out their own charms, smoother, darker, polished by years of handling, a whale carved from a root knot, a wave pattern from a branch, a stylized tree. We held them towards the sea, a silent salute to the sleeping world below. Finn, emboldened by the story, stood up. He walked to the very edge of the shingle where the wet sand began and held his little driftwood aurochs out in his palm. He was listening. The wind had dropped. The sigh was there, a vast subterranean exhalation that seemed to vibrate up through the sand into the soles of our feet. It was not a sad sound, not tonight. It was a constant, patient presence. Doggerland was not gone, it was translated. Its soil was our peat, its forests our fuel and our charms, its rivers, the channels of the sea we now sailed. Its children were us, living on the fragments it had bequeathed, the high grounds that became our shores. The sea that had taken also gave. It gave us the herring that schooled over the drowned meadows, the cod that lurked in the fossil river valleys. It gave us the mystery that defined us, a people born from a cataclysm, forever listening to the echoes of a world we never knew, yet could never forget. Our traditions were not mere nostalgia, they were a dialogue with a landscape that had simply changed its form, from solid to liquid, from visible to deeply imagined. As we walked back from the shore, the tide beginning its slow, inevitable return, I put my hand on Finn's shoulder. He looked up, his eyes still full of the story's immensity. Will I see them on the solstice? The great cattle. You might, I said, or you might just feel them. Differently. He nodded, solemn, and clutched his charm. He was part of the chain now, a link between the deep past of forests and the present of sea and stone. The telling had done its work. The sigh beneath the waves would be met by our stories above them, season after season, ebb after ebb, for as long as there were people on this wind-scoured shore to listen and to speak. And in that endless, gentle exchange, the drowned land lived on. The wind that comes before the monsoon has a particular smell on the Gulf of Khambhat. It is not the clean, rain-washed scent you find elsewhere. Here, it carries the breath of the drowned land, a thick, fecund odor of silt, of salt-crusted mangrove, and of something older, something like wet clay and rust. It is the smell of memory, the fishermen say, and memory in these parts is a heavy thing, layered like the seabed itself. For generations, the Karva fishermen of this coast have known the whispers of the deep. They do not speak of anomalies or settlements. Their language is woven from tide and myth. They speak of the drowned city's salt. Every year, during the highest spring tide, the oldest women of the villages perform a silent vigil on the shore. They do not chant or pray aloud. Instead, they press their palms into the wet sand until the salt burns their skin, renewing a silent pact with what sleeps below. It is a reminder that some knowledge is not for lifting, but for honoring. My own journey into that whispered history began not with a sonar ping, but with the low humming grief of silt divers' sonar divinations. I was aboard the Matsyak, a research vessel that felt arrogantly modern against the ancient skin of the Gulf. Our instruments, all blinking lights and crisp screens, had mapped a series of impossible geometries on the seafloor. Rectilinear patterns, concentric circles, and what looked like the foundations of massive structures over 100 feet down in the shifting, treacherous silt. The carbon dating from dredged peat suggested a timeline that made archaeologists pale, 9, perhaps 10,000 years before the present, older than Harappa, older than Mesopotamia. On the first evening, as the sun bled into the khaki water, he produced a simple, battered depth finder, its stylus scratching on rolling paper. "Your machine sees shapes," he said, his voice a rasp of salt and tobacco. "This one hears stories. Listen." He dropped the transducer over the side. The thrum, thrum, thrum of the motor was familiar. But then, as we passed over one of our marked anomalies, the steady line of the bottom return wavered. It didn't just show a rise, it seemed to shiver, to fracture into a delicate, echoing pattern of softer echoes beneath the main signal. You hear it. It sank with the memory of every street, every house, every hearth. When the monsoon tides pull hardest, they stir the silt just enough for the sound to find the hollow places. Not the stone, but the ghost of the space where the stone was. You are not mapping ruins. You are mapping echoes of emptiness where life once was. Poetic, Devji, but it's just a secondary sediment layer with different acoustic properties. Dev simply smiled, a network of wrinkles deepening around his eyes. You will see. We dredged, not with the careful surgical grabs of archaeology, but with the brutal grinding buckets of geology, tearing up sections of the seabed to bring up whatever lay buried. The decks were constantly filthy with a slick gray smothering silt that smelled of decay and age. It was back-breaking, monotonous work. But then, one afternoon, a shout went up. Not a tool, not a post, but a lump of fired clay washed clean by the hoses. It was a tablet about the size of a man's hand. It was incised with markings that were neither pictogram nor script, but something in between, a spiral that became a wave, a series of dots like stars, a shape that might have been a many-oared boat. It was stunning, a voice from the abyss. He built a small fire on a secluded part of the aft deck, away from the lab lights. He placed the tablet in a shallow brass bowl filled with seawater from the dredge hose. He sat before it, not moving, as the firelight danced on the water's surface and the ancient clay. "The salt in this water is the same salt that holds the city," he murmured, more to the tablet than to us who gathered, uneasy and curious. The meeting place is the now. We do not ask it to speak our language. We ask to listen to its silence. The only sounds were the lap of waves against the hull and the crackle of the fire. I watched the tablet. In the flickering light, the grooves seemed to deepen, the patterns to shift. But in that moment, logic felt like a thin shell over a vast, dark ocean. I felt a profound loneliness emanating from that little piece of clay, a loneliness measured in millennia. They knew the water would come, Dev said finally, his voice distant. They did not fight it. They made a choice. To let the sea have their works, but not their essence. A path for the soul to follow, down into the dark, to become part of it. We need more. We need to see it. We would have our eyes in the drowned city. The tension on the Zmatsiak was palpable, a mix of scientific fervor and a superstitious dread even the most rational among us couldn't quite shake. As the technicians prepared the ROV, Dev performed another ritual, one I had not seen before. He took a small, sharp knife and went to the ship's keel at the waterline. Scraping carefully, he gathered a tiny pile of wood shavings, stained with old copper paint and the infinitesimal, stony grit that accumulates on a hull that has traveled far. This was keel scraping for ghost stone offerings. Every ship that passes here gathers pieces of the deep, he explained, mixing the shavings with a pinch of turmeric and rice. We return these pieces. We say, "We are just visitors. We take only images. Here is a piece of our journey in exchange." He cast the mixture over the side, where it spread like a faint golden stain before sinking. The ROV descended. The monitors in the control room showed the green water turning to murky blue, then to a twilight gray. life faded. We hit the silty bottom, a cloud of fine sediment blooming around the ROV's thrusters. For an hour, it was featureless mud. Then, the sonar guide led us to the edge of an anomaly, a shape resolved from the gloom. It was a wall, not a natural rock face. A wall. Coursed stone blocks, massive and fitted with a precision that spoke of terrifying skill, given the presumed era. They were tumbled, collapsed in places, but undeniably artificial. A collective breath hitched in the control room. Dr. Torble. Arjun's fingers trembled as he adjusted the joystick. The ROV's lights swept across the megaliths, revealing more. A straight line that became a corner, a piled mound that might have been a collapsed pillar. Then we saw the symbols, carved into the face of one vast stone, clearer than the one on our tablet, was the spiral wave. And beside it, a series of those star-like dots. And below them, a procession of stick figures, arms raised, not in fear, but in what looked like acceptance, flowing into a series of wavy lines. "My God," whispered a junior researcher. They're showing them how to drown. We found what looked like the circular foundation of a large structure. And there, half buried in the silt, were objects, not just potsherds, but shapes of worked stone. Tools and bones, not scattered bones, arranged bones. skeleton lying on its side, curled as if in sleep. A deliberate, sacred burial conducted before the sea took it all. The silence in the control room was absolute, broken only by the hum of electronics and the soft robotic whir of the ROV's thrusters. We were witnessing not a catastrophe, but a conclusion. A people who had seen the ocean rise, over generations perhaps, and who had chosen to bury their dead in the heart of their city to consecrate its drowning. Bring the manipulator arm over grid G7. No. Dev, this is the find of 100 lifetimes. Cause of death, Dev said, stepping into the room. His usual deference was gone, replaced by a stern, ancient authority. And they made peace with it. Arjun snapped. We are scientists. We uncover truth. There are truths that are not for uncovering, Dev replied, his gaze sweeping over the mesmerized, conflicted faces in the room. There are truths that are for carrying. Their history is in our common soon-tide ancestor mapping, in our silt divers' sonar divinations. It is in the way we know a storm is coming by the taste of the silt, in the way we respect the Gulf because it holds a city. You leave it? I looked at the monitor. This was not a call for discovery. It was a request for rest. What if the truth is the act? The ultimate truth of this place isn't how they lived, but how they decided to stop. Arjun glared at me, then back at Dev, then at the hauntingly beautiful image on the screen. The ambition in his eyes warred with something else, a dawning, uncomfortable awe. He was a historian. with a curse that was more sigh than anger, he let his hands fall from the controls. Fine. Retract the arm. Take panoramic imagery only. Do not disturb the circle. It continued to record, but now it felt less like a probe and more like a respectful witness. We spent the remaining days mapping, imaging, listening. We found no gold, no treasure, no grand statues. We found more foundations, more cryptic carvings, more evidence of a planned, solemn departure. The city had not been killed, it had been surrendered. It was not on the forecast. The wind whipped the Gulf into a frenzy of short, choppy waves. Rain lashed the decks. As the crew struggled to secure the gear, Dev stood at the stern, facing into the storm. He was chanting something, the words lost to the wind, his arms wide. Later, exhausted and soaked, I found him by the still smoldering embers of his small fire, sheltered in a lee. "What was that?" I asked. "A thank you," he said, not looking at me, "and a promise. The Common Tide ancestor mapping was strong tonight. They felt the disturbance, the potential theft. They stirred the silt. They made the waves. Now they are calm again. We kept our part. We listened. We sailed back to the modern world with our hard drives full of images and our holds empty of physical proof. Dr. Tersi, Arjun's report was a masterpiece of cautious, groundbreaking science, but it was tinged with a new, uncharacteristic humility. He spoke of ritual submersion and conscious cultural conclusion. but the soul of the discovery, I knew, remained where it belonged, in the deep, dark, silty embrace of the Gulf. Sometimes, in my quiet office, I close my eyes and smell that pre-monsoon wind. I hear the thrum, thrum, thrum of Dev's depth finder, the sigh of the silt. I see the spiral wave, not as an inscription, but as a path. It is a sleeping giant whose dreams are the tides, whose breath is the silt. We did not discover a lost civilization. We were, for a fleeting moment, acknowledged by a living memory. We were reminded that some stories are too vast to be bound in books. They must be carried in the salt on the skin, in the echo of a sonar ping, in the respectful stillness of a researcher's hand, hovering over a control that could plunder a grave, but choosing instead to simply see. For in the end, the greatest truth the Gulf of Khambhat revealed was not about what was built, but about what was released. It is a lesson in letting go, written in stone, sung in silt, and held in the eternal, patient dark. And in a world obsessed with grasping, with claiming, with unearthing every secret, perhaps that is the most hopeful story of all. A testament that some endings are sacred, and some silence is not an emptiness, but a profound and lasting peace. The otters then brace properties. The sea does not forget. It holds memory in its brine, cradles it in its shifting sands, and whispers it through the sigh of its waves. On the southern coast of Laconia, where the Peloponnese reaches a bony finger towards the island of Kythera, there is a bay that seems to hold its breath. The water here is a clear, impossible blue-green, so shallow that on a calm day you can peer down and see another world. Not a scattering of ruins, but a city. Complete. Streets run like ghostly lines through the sand. The foundations of houses, shops, and temples stand in silent rows. Courtyards open to a sky they have not seen for 3,000 years. This is Pavlopetri, the oldest submerged city in the world. A map of the Bronze Age drawn not on parchment, but on the seabed. The people of the nearby villages, Neapolis and Elafonisos, they know. They have always known. To them, it is not an archaeological site, but a presence. They call it Every year on the night of the last full moon before the autumn equinox, they observe the Sunken city vigil. They gather on the beach at Viglafia, across from the island of Pavlopetri, and light no fire. They sit in darkness, listening. The old folks say that if you are very quiet and your heart is clear, you can hear the echoes of the city's last bell, a bronze tone carried on the underwater currents, a lament for the world lost. It was on such a night that an old fisherman named Yanis decided to tell his granddaughter, Eleni, the true story. She was a university student from Athens, all facts and figures, who saw the city as a grid of walls to be studied. She had come for the vigil, notebook in hand. "Put that away, mouse," Yanni said, his voice a soft rasp like pebbles turning in the surf. "You cannot measure a soul with a ruler." Eleni hesitated, then closed her notebook. Around them, the village sat in respectful silence. The moon painted a silver road on the calm sea, leading directly to the submerged city. "What do you hear, Papu?" she whispered. He closed his eyes. "Not with the ears, child." And in the hush, with the gentle lap of water and the distant cry of a shearwater, a story began to rise, not from Giannis's lips at first, but from the very atmosphere of the place. The city was not always under the sea. It thrived in the late Bronze Age, a contemporary of mighty Mycenae and golden Pylos, but it walked a different path. While the citadel kings built their palaces on high hills, the people of Poseidonia built in harmony with the water. Their city sprawled across a low, fertile isthmus between the mainland and a small, protective island. Its wealth came not from war, but from trade. The purple dye of the murex snail, the finest olive oil, exquisite pottery painted with octopuses and spirals. Their streets were laid out in a careful grid, a marvel of planning centuries ahead of its time. The central megaron, the ruler's hall, opened onto a wide courtyard that led to the waterfront, where ships from Crete, Cyprus, and Egypt would tie up at the stone quays. The people worshipped the earth, Shaker, Poseidon, but their version of him was not the wrathful god of the trident. They knew him as Posidaska, the foundation, holder, the god who stabilized the land against the sea's hunger. Each year, at the start of the sailing season, the high priest and priestess would lead a procession to the oldest stone in the city's first foundation wall. With water drawn from a sacred spring mixed with seawater from the deepest channel, they would anoint the stone, praying for stability, for balance. It was a plea and a promise. We respect your domain, and you will respect ours. She was not a queen, but the Mnemon, the rememberer. Her role was to hold the city's stories, its laws, its lineage, and the precise instructions for every ritual in her mind. She walked the streets daily, her feet memorizing the cracks in the flagstones, her fingers tracing the inscriptions on the walls. Her memory was the city's living archive. She practiced memory diving, a form of meditation where she would sit by the central well, clear her mind, and dive into the collective past, retrieving songs, treaty terms, or architectural plans with perfect clarity. Her daughter, Lyra, was learning the art, though her mind was restless, drawn more to the horizon than to the depths of memory. Why must we remember everything, Mother? The world is wide. Because, my wave rider, a city is not its stones. It is the memories held within them. The groove here is from the rope of the first trading ship from the east. If we forget, the city becomes a shell, and shells are easily washed away. Lyra nodded, but her eyes followed a departing galley, its sail a pink triangle in the dying light. She dreamed of sailing on such a ship, of trading stories instead of just preserving them. But the earth has its own memory, and its bones sometimes shift. The land here is perched on the edge of the great Hellenic Trench, where the African plate slides beneath the Aegean. Tension builds and must release. The first omen was subtle. Althea, performing the ritual, felt a cold dread in her stomach but continued, her voice steady. A summer earthquake, sharp and violent, shook the city. Few buildings collapsed. They were well built. But the quay split, and seawater seeped into the lower streets for a day before receding. Some, led by a wealthy merchant named Creon, argued it was a passing trial. Trade was too good to consider leaving. We must build higher walls, stronger quays. not a wave, but a slow, relentless drink. Creon scoffed. The words of women and the fears of fishermen. We are not a village of crab catchers. We are a city. They were the first to practice the ritual of the After the earthquake, in secret coves, they would weave small, intricate nets from bleached seagrass. Into these nets they would place tokens of their lives, a clay bead from a child's necklace, a bronze fishhook, a sliver of painted pottery. As they wove, they would whisper the names of their ancestors, the names of the streets, the names of the ships. Then, rowing out to the deep channel beyond the city, they would lower these offerings into the dark water. It was a bargain, a plea to the sea. Take these memories of us, know us. And when you come, Lyra, drawn to their quiet piety, learned the ritual from an old net mender. "Why do you do this?" she asked, her fingers clumsy on the grass. The old man's eyes were the color of the deep sea. "So the sea does not take us as strangers, child. So it knows our stories are part of its own." The final season came. It was a slow, inexorable subsidence, likely caused by a combination of seismic activity and the gradual readjustment of the coastal shelf. Day by day, the water crept higher. It filled the lower courtyards, not with a rush, but with a silent, persistent kiss. The people moved their belongings to upper floors, then to rooftops. The reality could no longer be denied. Panic was a luxury they could not afford. A grim resolve took hold. For 3 days and nights, the people worked. Scribes, under Althaea's direction, made lists on clay tablets, every street name, every family lineage, the recipe for the ceremonial bread, the tuning of the lyre used in the Poseidon hymns. These tablets were placed in sealed jars, but Althaea knew clay could shatter. The true record had to be held in the human heart. She gathered the children, Lyra among them, on the high ground of the island. There she made them repeat, over and over, the stories of the city's founding, the names of the first ships, the pattern of the streets. "Carry this map inside you," she commanded, her voice fierce with love. "Wherever you go, you carry the city. It will live as long as one of you remembers." On the last day, the water was lapping at the central square. The great Megaron was a lonely island. Althaea stood at the highest point, the temple of Poseidon, now ankle-deep in seawater. A profound silence fell, broken only by the suck and sigh of the water in the streets below. Then Creon, the proud merchant, his wealth now meaningless, stepped forward. His voice, once used for boasts, was hollow with grief. He began the tea. He did not recite from memory. He spoke from a breaking heart. Hail to the street of the potters, where the kiln smoke smelled of earth and fire, he began, his voice carrying across the water. Hail to the well of the blue shadow, where the water was so cold it hurt your teeth. Hail to the courtyard of Marin, where the fig tree gave the sweetest fruit. Hail to the threshold of my house, where my son took his first steps. One by one, others joined in. A fisherman, hail to the North Jetty, where we mended nets under the summer stars. A baker's wife, hail to the oven of Cynthia, whose bread could lift a heavy heart. Lyra, her tears falling into the salt water, cried out, "Hail to the seawall, where my mother taught me the names of the waves." It was a chorus of farewell, giving the sea not just their city, but its soul. They were telling the water, Althea, the Nemon, was the last to leave. She walked down the steps of the temple, now a submerged staircase, until the water reached her chest. She took one last look at the rooftops breaking the surface like the backs of great sleeping beasts. Then she turned and waded to the waiting boat where Lyra held out a trembling hand. As they pushed off, Althea did not look back. Her work was done. The memory was safe, carried in the minds of her people, and now in the very substance of the sea that had heard their final song. The subsidence continued over years, perhaps decades. The city sank fully beneath the waves, the sediments of the bay gently covering it, protecting it from the eroding force of storms. It slept, a perfect time capsule, forgotten by history but never by the local memory. Fishermen would sometimes snag their nets on the old walls and would make the sign of the cross. They spoke of seeing ghostly lights moving in orderly lines beneath the water on moonless nights. The phospheres, the ghost lanterns of the citizens, still walking their drowned streets. Giannis's voice faded into the night. The vigil was ending. Around them, people were stirring, speaking in hushed tones. Eleni found her cheeks were wet. That... Reports are for things that are dead. We remember it when an old person is dying, and we whisper the With your diving and your mapping, you see the stones. But have you ever done memory diving? The next morning, Eleni joined the local archaeological team as she always did, suiting up in scuba gear. But today was different. As she descended through the cool, clear water, the city emerged below her, breathtakingly intact. She saw the neat lines of the streets, the round foundations of tombs, the complex layout of buildings. She swam down the main street, her fins kicking up little puffs of sand. She had done this a dozen times, measuring, photographing, sketching. This time, she stopped. She hovered above a crossroads, let her hand drift over a worn threshold stone. She closed her eyes, letting the silence of the deep press in. She tried to listen not with her ears but with her bones, as her grandfather said. And then she didn't hear, but she felt an impression of crowded sandals on the flagstones. The smell of baking bread and drying fish, somehow carried not by air, but by the memory in the calcium of the seashells embedded in the mortar. A sense of orderly, purposeful life. She opened her eyes and looked at the street not as a corridor of ruins, but as the street of the potters. That hollow there, a kiln's foundation. That flat stone, a workshop bench. The ghost of Creon's voice seemed to echo in the water. Hail to the street of the potters! Inside, on the floor, was a large, flat stone, slightly raised. The stone was smooth, covered in a fine, fuzzy algae. She gently brushed it away, and her fingers found a deep, worn groove. a rope's groove. From the first ship, a shiver ran through her that had nothing to do with the cold. In that moment, the 70% of legend and the 30% of fact within her mind dissolved their boundaries. The sonar maps and pottery typologies melted into the story of Althea and Lyra. The city was no longer a sight. It was a story made stone and then made sea. She broke through into the bright, noisy world of the living. On the research boat, her colleagues were talking about stratification and ceramic sequences. Eleni pulled off her mask. She didn't reach for her notebook. She found some old seagrass line and sat with him on his porch overlooking the bay. Slowly, awkwardly, she began to weave a small, loose net. "What will you put in it, Cory Mouse?" Then she took her waterproof pencil, the one she used for her dive slate, and broke it in half. She placed the graphite core in the center of her clumsy salt weave. "A memory," she said. "The memory of the day I stopped looking at a city and began to listen to it." Together, in the twilight, they rowed his old boat out to the deep channel above the submerged city. The water was like dark silk. Eleni lowered her offering over the side, watching the white grass vanish into the blue-black depths. "So the sea knows," she whispered, the words feeling ancient and right on her tongue, "that I remember, and that I will tell the story." She knew then that Pavlopetri's true map was not on the seabed. It was in the ritual, the story, the whispered recitation passed from grandfather to granddaughter. The stones had sunk, but the memory had floated. It had weathered the tides of conquest, migration, and modernity, preserved in the amber of local tradition. The city was gone, and yet, in the most profound way, it endured. Not as a relic to be analyzed, but as a living, breathing testament in the heart of the community. A beacon proving that what we commit to the depths of story is never truly lost, but merely waiting in the quiet blue for a listening ear to call it back to life. Oh. The fire crackled, a low, hungry sound in the humid night. Its light lapped at the faces of the listeners, young and old, gathered on the woven mat beneath a sky heavy with stars and the memory of rain. The air smelled of damp earth, frangipani, and wood smoke. Old man Kieran, his skin like river-smooth teak, drew a long breath that seemed to pull the silence closer. He wasn't just a storyteller, he was a Spenglipur Lara, a soother of sorrows, and what he carried in his bones was a sorrow as vast and deep as the sea. "You children," he began, his voice a dry rustle of leaves, "you look at the map in your schools. You see islands, Sumatra, Java, Borneo, the Philippines, scattered like crumbs from a giant's table. You see the blue, so much blue, the Java Sea, the South China Sea, the Straits. The greatest thief of all." He leaned forward, and the shadows danced across his face. Before there were these seas, there was the land. A name scholars give it now, a dry word for a living world. It was not a continent as others imagine, but a vastness, a single unbroken skin of earth stretching from the mountains of Burma to the edges of Bali, embracing Borneo and the southern Philippines. Where dolphins now swim, rhinoceros walked. Where coral grows, tigers drank from rivers that flowed 1,000 miles. The wind traveled over forests so dense and ancient, their breath was the weather itself. He paused, letting the image settle. This was the world of our deepest ancestors, not the kings of later empires, but the first people, the Orang Asal. They walked from hill to valley without seeing salt water. They followed the monsoon rains, and their stories were not of voyages, but of journeys across the body of a known mother. In the highlands of Mindanao, the Lumid peoples remember. They perform the Pamalas, a ritual of cleansing and remembrance, not just for their own lands, but for all sacred landscapes lost. They sing of a time when the great peak of Apo was not an island mountain, but the heart of a colossal range, its foothills stretching west into a land now drowned. The Ap Pamalas is a plea, a polishing of the world's memory, so that the spirits of those sunken forests and valleys do not grow angry and forgotten. He took a sip of water from a coconut shell, and how did it end? Not with war, not with fire, with a whisper, a slow, relentless sigh. As the great ice far to the north began to weep, the waters rose. Not in a flood like the legends of other lands, but in a creeping, patient advance. A hand closing around a throat, year by year, generation by generation. The people would retreat to higher ground, watching the mangroves march inland, swallowing their old hunting grounds. They would return to a familiar bay to find it open sea. The salt poisoned the freshwater springs. His voice dropped to a murmur. When a great tree falls, its semangati needs ceremony to move on. For millennia, they have conducted quiet ceremonies at the water's edge, offering betel nut and whispered prayers to the spirits of the drowned forests to appease the confusion and sorrow of a world erased. And in that vast, drowning plain where the South China Sea now churns, there was a city. The old Malay chronicle, the Hikayat Banjar, speaks of it in hushed tones. A city of such splendor, built where great rivers met the plains, a hub of the world. Its towers caught the first and last light of the sun on Sundaland. They called it Nagara Dipa, or sometimes a name lost to waves. Its people were masters of astronomy and river trade, but the water came for it too. The chronicle says the king received omens, saltwater crabs in the palace wells, nightmares of floating timber. They built boats, great fleets of them, loading their sacred stones and genealogies. The last prince, it is said, stood on the highest tower as the waves lapped at the foundations, placing a final curse and a blessing upon the deep. Then the city was gone, swallowed whole, leaving only a legend of golden spires seen by fishermen on impossibly clear, still days. A mirage of memory refracted through water. The narrative flowed from Kiran, seamless as the rising seas he described. He spoke of the geography not as a scholar, but as a mourner. The rich alluvial plains that now form the seabed, the drowned river valleys like the Molengraaf, a ghost river system larger than the Ganges, now a deep-sea channel. He described the Sunda Shelf, the shallow sea that is the ghost of that land, where trawlers sometimes drag up ancient peat logs and the bones of long-extinct stegodons, tangible proof of the drowned world. But memory, Kiran said, his voice strengthening, memory is a stubborn seed. It does not drown. It washes up in strange places, takes root in new rituals. He told them of the island of Nias, off Sumatra's western coast. The people there, though never part of Sundaland, remember a great journey. Their ancestors, they say, arrived from a distant land in a time of calamity. They drag immense quarried rocks and carve them into the shape of boats. In their megalithic rituals, they dance on and around these stone ships, invoking the spirits of those ancestral navigators who fled the drowning. The boat is frozen in stone, a permanent anchor for a story of flight. It is a memory of the time when the only escape from the water was upon the water. A young woman, Mira, dared to speak, her voice soft. "Grandfather, is it all just loss? Is there nothing but sadness under the sea?" Kieran smiled, a network of kind lines around his eyes. The coasts where we build our villages, the rich fisheries that feed us. These are the gifts of the drowning. The rising waters penned us into islands, pressed tribes together, forced the sharing of knowledge. It birthed the Spele Yaran, the great seafaring tradition. It made us the people of the canoe and the sail, the navigators who read stars and waves. Our languages, scattered across the archipelago, hold ghost words for inland animals, found now only on separate islands. He gestured to the east. The stories there tell of brothers and sisters separated by rising waters, calling to each other across newly formed straits. The very diversity of our peoples. Our myths are full of shapeshifters and fluid boundaries because our world was literally reshaped by water. The story built towards its climax, no longer just a tale of the past, but a living, breathing tension. Kieran spoke of a modern-day fisherman from the Rio Islands, a man named Jolly. Jolly, whose family had fished the Sunda Shelf for generations, knew the seabed like the lines on his palm. One day his net snagged not on coral, but on something massive and smooth. After a desperate struggle, he and his brother hauled up not a log, but a worked stone, a section of a pillar, carved with spirals and a pattern like waves meeting land. It was heavy with the silence of ages. The descendant of Sundaland felt a physical jolt, a pull from the deep. He hid the stone in his boat, and it began to haunt him. He dreamt of walking through a city of cool stone, of hearing a language like the chatter of monkeys and the flow of rivers, a language he somehow understood. He woke with the taste of fresh water on his tongue, not salt. Driven, Jolly sought out the quiet, knowing people. He went to an orang asli pawang, a spirit medium in the interior of the peninsula. In a simple ceremony by a freshwater stream, the old man performed a version of the Zi'esamangat ceremony for the drowned world. He lit resinous incense, its smoke curling over offerings of rice and flowers laid on a banana leaf. For the spirits of the stone, for the Samangata of the lost place, he chanted. Do not cling to this man. Be at peace in the deep, or find your way to memory. Jolly felt a weight lift, but not the compulsion. He sailed next to a Lumid community in Mindanao. He participated in a Apamalask ritual, helping cleanse a sacred stone in their village. A ritual echoing the cleansing of landscapes. The elder told him, "The stone from the sea is not just a thing, it is a piece of a story. The story wants to be completed." The climax came on a night of the full moon, on the quiet beach of a small island overlooking the Sunda Shelf. Jolly, guided by fragments of dream and the advice of the elders, acted not as an archaeologist, but as a supplicant. He did not bring the stone to a museum. He brought it back to the sea. He placed the stone fragment in it, along with betel nut, a pinch of soil from his home island, and a frangipani flower. Mira and the others around the fire were holding their breath, the only sound the crackle of the flames and the distant sigh of the surf. Jolly waded into the warm black water, Chiron whispered. He set the little boat adrift on that silver path towards where the ancient city sleeps. He did not speak a prayer he knew. He let the words come, and they were sounds that felt old, guttural, and soft, a language of earth and water. He thanked the stone for its message. He acknowledged the loss. He offered it back to the deep, not as a discard, but as a returned memory. And as the little boat bobbed away, Jolly felt it, a profound, quiet peace, not an ending, but a reconciliation. He later said it was like hearing a chord played millennia ago finally resolve. And it had now, through him, received back a piece of its own secret, acknowledged. The sea was not a grave. It was a garden growing over the past. So you see, Sundaland is not lost. It is not a mystery to be solved with sonar maps and carbon dating alone. It is here. He touched his temple. In our stories of flight and stone boats, it is here. He placed a hand over his heart. In the Semangat ceremonies by silent streams, in the Sepamalask rituals for sacred land. It is in the Hikayats Banjari's tale of a sunken city, a warning and a wonder. It is in the very fact that we are islanders who dream of unbroken forests. He spread his hands, encompassing the night, the sea-scented air, the community. The sea that drowned our first world became the highway of our second. The memory of the land bridge lives on in our kinship, our shared myths, our deep sense that beneath the waves that separate us, we are connected by old, dry roots. We are the children of the drowning. To honor is to understand that we belong to a story much larger than our individual lives, a story of earth, water, and relentless, adapting life. He fell silent. He fell silent. The story was done. For a long moment, the only sound was the ocean, a steady breath in the darkness. Mira looked from the dying fire to the vast, star-dusted horizon where sea met sky. She no longer saw an empty expanse. She saw a hidden landscape, a palimpsest of earth and water, alive with the whispers of forests and the echoes of footsteps on dry land. She felt the truth of it, a sorrow, yes, but beneath it a profound, resilient connection. They were its living memory, standing on the shores of yesterday, facing the endless, remembering sea. The sea does not forget. It remembers in the way it cradles stone, in the way it whispers through submerged alleyways, in the salt it leaves upon ancient hearths long cold. Off the coast, where the Carmel mountain range greets the Mediterranean with a rugged embrace, the fishermen of Atlit, their boats painted the blue of twilight, have always known. They call it Atlit Yam, Atlit of the sea, and they speak of it in the hushed tones reserved for sacred things. It is a village that sleeps beneath the waves, a place where time was folded by the rising waters at the dawn of the world, and where the echoes of the first ones who loved this shore still linger. Listen, then, to the story of that village, not as it is written in the dry ledgers of archaeologists, but as it is felt in the pull of the tide and seen in the dreams of those who still pour offerings onto the wet sand. The world was younger. the air sharper with the scent of pine and wild barley. The great ice had retreated, grumbling northward, and in its wake came a gentler age. The people of the coast were not wanderers, not anymore. They built their homes, not of skin and pole, but of stone, wrested from the foothills and set in circles and squares upon the fertile earth. This was Atlit Yam, though they had no name for it as such. To them, it was simply the place, the heart of the world. Their leader was a woman named Tali, whose hair was the color of storm-washed sand and whose eyes held the quiet depth of the forest pools. Her authority came not from force, but from memory. She was the keeper of the stories, the one who remembered which berry patches fruited after the first rain, which cove held the fattest mussels, and how to speak to the spirit of the great well they had dug at the village's center. Ah, the well. It was not a mere hole, but a constructed shaft, lined with carefully chosen stones, descending through the soft earth until it found the sweet, cool water that lay beneath the salt. It was a wonder, a feat of communal effort and understanding. The land gives us grain. The sea gives us fish, Tali would say, running her hand along the well's stone lip. It is the secret drink of the world. It binds us here. And so, life unfolded in a rhythm as ancient and sure as the tides. In the spring, they sowed emmer and barley in clearings. Children laughed, chasing lizards through the sun-dappled undergrowth. Men and women waded into the shallows with nets woven from tough, fibrous plants, their movements a synchronized dance that harvested the sea's generosity. They kept dogs, not as pets, but as partners. Silent shadows that warned of wolves in the forest and boar in the thickets. Their rituals were born of this intimate dialogue with their world. At the summer solstice, when the sun hung longest in the sky, They would gather at the stone circle on the village's eastern edge. Here, they did not raise great monoliths to track the heavens, but used the stones as looms. They would collect long, leathery strands of kelp washed ashore in the spring storms and, as the sun reached its zenith, weave them into complex patterns between the stones, nets, spirals, representations of the sun's disk. This was not mere craft. It was a prayer. As their fingers worked the slippery, salty strands, they wove their hopes for the bounty of the sea into the very fabric of the coming season. The stone circle kelp weaving was an act of sympathetic magic, a tangible connection between their community, the mineral bones of the earth, and the fertile swirling sea. When a child was born, the ceremony was held not in a home, but at the central hearth, the fire that never went out. The infant would be held over the smoke, not to frighten, but to introduce its spirit to the elemental heart of the village. Then Tali would carry the child to the well. "From the secret heart of the world, we name you," she would intone. The name given was often of the sea or the earth. Kalanit anemone, Dor generation, or Yam sea. This naming ceremony at the submerged hearth site, though they knew no such term, rooted each new soul to the community's two most vital sources, shared warmth and hidden water. And they remembered their dead with a tenderness that blurred the line between this world and the next. They buried them in a flexed position, knees to chest, as if returning to the womb of the earth, often within the home itself, beneath the compacted earth floor. But for those who had been great fishermen, or who had loved the sea beyond all else, there was another rite. A chosen diver, often a relative, would take a smooth, water-worn stone in hand. At dawn, they would swim out to a deep, quiet spot beyond the bay. Holding the stone, they would recount the deeds of the departed, the great catch, the kindness, the laughter. Then, they would take a deep breath and dive, pulling themselves down into the silent, green-lit world. On the sea floor, they would place the stone in a small personal cairn, a marker in the realm the loved one had cherished. This well-diving ancestor remembrance, though performed in the open sea, was akin to visiting a sacred well of memory, descending into the depths to honor a life that had returned to the great mystery. For generations, this was the rhythm. The village thrived. Their stone houses grew more permanent, their tools more refined. They fashioned sickle blades from flint to harvest their grain, and bone hooks to fish the deeper waters. They had time for art, a stone carving of a face, a pendant drilled from a cowrie shell. They were, in the truest sense, a people in harmony. The archaeological record that would one day lie submerged confirms this prosperity. The remains of domesticated animals, the processed grain, the structured dwellings, the clear evidence of a settled, sophisticated Neolithic society existing here nearly 7,000 years before the Common Era. But the world, even in its gentler age, is not static. The elders, Tali among them, began to notice things. The springs from the Carmel slopes ran a little less vigorously some years. The freshwater marsh that bordered their village seemed to shrink, its edges growing brackish. And there was the sea. It was not a sudden foe, but a slow, relentless suitor. Winter storms began to reach further inland, swallowing stretches of beach. The sweet water lens beneath their feet, from which their glorious well drew, began to taste the insidious kiss of salt. At first it was a faint tang, a thing dismissed. Then it grew stronger. Panic, cold and quiet, began to seep into the village like the seawater into their well. The land was betraying them, or rather, the great balance was shifting. The melting of the far-off ice, which had begun their age of plenty, was now raising the oceans inch by patient inch, century by century. The very phenomenon that had created their fertile coastal plains was now claiming them back. It was a historical inevitability, a global process of post-glacial sea level rise. But to Tali's people, it was a slow-motion catastrophe, a silent war against an enemy that could not be fought. Tali, her hair now streaked with gray, spent long hours by the well, her forehead pressed against its now warm stones. She listened. "It tires," she told her council, her voice hollow. A young man, Dor, Tali's own grandson, named for the endless cycle of the sea, argued for fight. We can build a wall. A barrier of stone and timber to hold it back. An old fisherman, his skin like cured leather, shook his head. It has its own hunger, and it has turned its eyes to our home. But the salt was a ghost in the ground, haunting every new attempt. The barley grew stunted. The children's bellies grew lean. The heart was going out of the place. The climax came not with a cataclysmic wave, but with a season of terrible storms. Winds howled down from the Carmel, tearing at roofs. The sea, no longer merely advancing, rose up in fury. It surged past the old shoreline, through the brackish marsh, and into the very streets of the village. Seawater, cold and violent, swirled around the stone foundations of their homes. It flooded the great well, filling that sacred shaft not with the secret drink of the earth, but with the bitter brine of the ocean. The people retreated to the highest ground, a small hillock at the village's edge, watching in a silence more dreadful than any scream. They watched the sea claim their hearths, their homes, their history. In that moment, Tali understood. This was not a defeat, it was a transformation. The village was not being destroyed, it was being accepted. The sea, which had fed them for so long, was now asking for a gift in return, their home. She stood, water swirling around her ankles, and raised her hands. Her voice, though thin against the wind, carried a strange power. We hear you. She cried out to the raging gray water. But hear this, great water, a gift given is a bond forever. Let this place sleep in your arms, and let its dream never fade from the world. and as if in answer, the rain began to ease. The people of Atlit Yam gathered what they could: seeds, tools, the embers of the central hearth carried in a clay pot. They turned their backs on the drowned village and moved inland, up the slopes of the Carmel, to begin again. But as they left, Tali instituted one final enduring tradition. She took a clay cup, filled it with the last of their fresh water from a skin, and walked down to the new water's edge. As the tide began its slow retreat, revealing the wet, dark sand, she poured the water out in a thin, clear stream. Our water for your care. They would bring a libation fresh water, later wine, later still, for generations who forgot the original reason, simply a thought, and pour it onto the retreating tide where the old village lay. This sea gift libation became an unbroken thread of memory, a ritual of gratitude and remembrance for the place that was and the pact that was made. Centuries turned to millennia. The sea level stabilized. The drowned village was buried in silt and sand, cradled in a deep, timeless sleep. The people of the coast changed. Canaanites, Phoenicians, Israelites, Romans, Arabs, Crusaders, all built their castles and ports upon the shore, oblivious to the Neolithic world lying just beneath their keels. The castle of Atlit, a majestic crusader fortress, rose on the headland, its knights dreaming of Jerusalem, unknowing that a different kind of sacred site lay in the shadows of their walls. Yet the old traditions, diluted, transformed, but never entirely broken, persisted among the local fishermen. They still spoke of the old village under the water. They avoided fishing directly over it on certain days, feeling a respectful awe. Some claimed that on still, moonlit nights, they could hear the sound of stone knocking against stone, or see the ghostly glow of a hearth fire far below. The sea gift libation became a simple, superstitious act, a sip of areca poured overboard for luck for the old ones. The concept of well diving transferred to the dangerous, respected act of free diving for sponges or lost nets, a descent into the silent world where the past felt close. Then, in the late 20th century, came the seekers with different eyes. Marine archaeologists surveying the coast noticed strange, regular shapes on the seafloor sonar. Divers descended, not with ritual stones, but with cameras and measuring tapes. They broke the surface with news that sounded like legend, intact stone houses, a complete circular stone plaza, and the well. Science began to piece together the historical fact: a pre-pottery Neolithic sea village, dating back over 8,000 years, miraculously preserved by its sandy tomb. They found the skeletons, buried in the fetal position beneath house floors. They found flint tools, animal bones, evidence of agriculture and fishing. They documented the earliest known case of tuberculosis in one of the remains. But for the few old-timers in modern Atlit, it was simply a confirmation. Today, the site is protected, studied, a time capsule of unimaginable value. But it is more than an archaeological site. It is a testament to the pact. The sea kept its promise. It guarded the memory. Now a new kind of pilgrim goes there. Not with digging tools, but with a respectful heart. Modern practitioners of revived traditions, or simply the deeply moved, sometimes conduct quiet ceremonies. They may weave kelp strands in a simple pattern on the beach at solstice, remembering the stone circle weavers. They may speak the names of their own ancestors while gazing at the coordinates of the submerged hearth, continuing the thread of naming and belonging. And at low tide, if you know where to look, you might still see an old fisherman or a young woman with a thoughtful face pour a little water from a bottle onto the retreating waves. a sea gift libation. It is a love story between a people and a place, a story so strong that not even the rising sea could break it. It is the story of how home is not just where you live, but where you are remembered. The village sleeps, embraced by the Mediterranean, its stone bones cradled in the gentle sway of the seagrass. The well, and in the whisper of the waves against the Carmel shore, in the glint of the sun on a quiet sea, you can still hear the echo of the pact, the hopeful, reflective promise that binds memory to place, and the human heart to the deep, enduring story of the world. You keep it forever.